Hello there, and welcome to the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. I am Vlad, and my guests today are working on a super interesting Lightning project, which is called Stroom. They are from Ukraine, and their names are Nick and Slava. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, we're going to talk about Lightning, and about bridging all of these concepts to DeFi for whatever reason. So, hi, Nick and Slava. It's really nice to finally interview you.
Hi.
Hey, Vlad. Thanks for having us. It's an honor to be on a Bitcoin Takeover podcast. Yeah, let's do this. Let's talk about.
No, the honor is
man.
on my side because I very much enjoy introducing projects that are new and unusual and interesting to Bitcoiners. And you guys have decided that you want to increase the liquidity on the Lightning Network. But the way in which you decided to do it is rather unorthodox and I guess uncharted from this point of view, as nobody else has attempted to. So I'm gonna let you talk about Stroom.
Yes, great. Thank you for having us here. So Stroom is super interesting project that our friend came up with this idea. So it boils down basically to the fact that Lightning Network depends on the amount of liquidity that there is inside the Lightning Network. So if there is more liquidity in it, then like higher volumes of payments can be processed, and robustness is better. So success rate for payments is better. So we were thinking about how we actually can boost it, and then we figure out the fact that actually people, Bitcoin users, they a lot of them bridging Bitcoins to use it in DeFi, and they wanted to use it as a collateral and to earn some yields on top of that. And the amount of these Bitcoins is huge. It's like 400,000 Bitcoins was breached previous year, and this year is slightly lower. It's like 150,000. Yeah, so we decided how we can actually return these Bitcoins back to Lightning, to Bitcoin ecosystem. And we came up with the idea of Stroom. So basically Stroom is like a bridge combined with the liquid staking derivative approach, which allows users to actually bridge their Bitcoins in Ethereum to Ethereum, but then those physical Bitcoins that are usually stored on cold storage or bridge, they are delegated to Lightning Network. And that huge amount of liquidity is then used to boost Lightning Network liquidity. And this liquidity can generate some yields, which is coming from routing fees from Lightning Network. And we distribute these fees back to users. So that's additional yields on top of that user can achieve just using DeFi. So it's clear competitive advantage over existing bridges. And so we hope to cannibalize the market share of bridge Bitcoins to Ethereum and actually boost Lightning with that.
So how does this work when, let's say that you have WBTC, which is wrapped BTC by BitGo? That's the way that people access DeFi and Ethereum with their Bitcoin. How do you actually supply that to provide liquidity to the Lightning Network?
Yes. So WBTC is our biggest competitor here. So WBTC, it's like semi-centralized solution. It's actually like more centralized. So it's like a custody. So there is a company that is keeping these Bitcoins that people deposited to WBTC, and these Bitcoins on Bitcoin side, they're stored in cold storage. And this is a single company that basically means WBTC in corresponding amounts on Ethereum side. So we kind of removing the centralized custody here. We building like a federation or DAO that will be in charge of minting procedures. And then there is another step like instead of storing the Bitcoins in cold storage, the federation is, or the DAO is then opening the channels with it has basically it has a routing LND hub, Lightning Network hub. So this hub is funded from those Bitcoins. So the federation opens the channel with outer Lightning Network. So we become one or several big routing hubs, like similar to, I don't know, like LNB or something like that. And yeah, and then we just route payments.
Okay, so technically it's not very complicated, but it seems like you're going to have your own wrapped BTC token.
Yeah. So we create our own version, which then need to be integrated in DeFi. So there is actually a demand for that. Yeah. So technically, it's really not that like the idea is pretty straightforward, but actually implementation details are not that straightforward. And the reason for that is because we don't want to be a like single point of failure. So we don't want to have a single entity that actually controls all funds. So we were like fallen for a year figuring out how we can build this solution as decentralized as possible. Honestly speaking, it is not like fully decentralized as Bitcoin, of course. Yeah, but we try to do our best here, and also as transparent as possible, so people always can track money flows, and they always can see what's the total supply of Bitcoins that we have, and total supply of we call it LNBTC, which is wrapped version of Bitcoin on Ethereum. So there is no like inflation of token supply from this thin air.
It sounds to me as if you're building a staking pool, but for Lightning. Did I get this correctly?
Yeah, it's a good analogy. But technically, it is very different from the staking pool.
Because you require two different networks? Is that why it's different?
Yeah. Like ordinary on, like, for example, on DeFi, on Ethereum, staking pools, they basically collect all tokens in a single address, in a single smart contract address, and then this pool somehow like operates. And like, for example, if it is a market, money market, then people lending money from this pool. Yeah, but in our solution, we actually have a bunch of multi-signature addresses on Bitcoin side, and for every individual user, it is a single address or several addresses. But which is important that for every user, it is like a separate address. And we have this set of multi-signature addresses that is controlled by federation in multi-signature way. And then from these addresses, we found Lightning Network channels. Yeah, and the Lightning Network part happening completely like without the liquidity depositor interaction. So if you just want to receive some yields based on Lightning Network routing fees, but you don't want to run any infrastructure, so you can use our solution. Yeah, you can just deposit Bitcoins to our DAO, and then we will take small cut on the revenue generated from your Bitcoins, because we need to incentivize infrastructure providers. And you receive yields on top of that. So it's kind of like staking for Lightning. Yeah, it's really very similar, but technically it's much more different, very different.
So as you said, there is no token inflation. It's all one-to-one to your Bitcoin. But at the same time, what's the revenue model? How do you make money off of this? Yeah.
So it's really super important to have one-to-one ratio always to maintain that. And because like recent events, it's like, in my opinion, it's just more fair. It's like how it should be. But recent events with Celsius, for example, showed that So Celsius is a company that provides yields on your Bitcoins. So the events with Celsius showed that if there is no transparency, you actually can't see what's going on with your liquidity. And it can be the situation that there is, like, your obligation is much higher than you actually have in your treasury. So Celsius collapsed, people lost money. We want to avoid it at all costs. So yeah, that's why we always want to have to maintain one-to-one peg. And we do it by allowing users to redeem their LNBTC to physical Bitcoins on the Bitcoin chain always. So they always can do the redemption. Sorry, what was your second question?
Now, let me get to something which I think is more important than the second part of my question. Why do you compare Stroom to Celsius? Why is that the point of reference?
Because there is not too many companies or solutions that can provide yields on top of Bitcoin, like the solution in the box. I mean, yeah, sure, you can wrap your Bitcoin to WBTC and then deposit it to some pools on, I don't know, Curve, for example, or other DeFi project like Compound, and start receiving some yields. But that's like additional steps from the users that they need to take. And Celsius was a solution there that where like users can just deposit Bitcoins and start receiving the yields. So the business model similar, I would say, but the technical realization, of course, is very different. Yeah. So that's a centralized company that provides yields on top of Bitcoin. We are a decentralized DAO that is also provide yields on top of Bitcoin, and we're fully transparent here. But what's going on with Celsius, I don't know. I don't know how they use that Bitcoins. Yeah. So comparison here is only in terms of business model, I would say.
Yeah, so right now I need to also engage Nick because I don't want him to feel like he only came here for the picture or something. So Nick, what is your contribution to the Stroom project, and what is it that you do? Because you're the one who set up this interview. You're the one with whom I have been interacting, and now you're quiet.
Yeah, thanks. Disclaimer: I'm not in the Stroom core team. So I'm the CEO of Boosty Venture Studio, and we are investor into Stroom. And my contribution is that I believe this is the next big thing for Lightning Network, for Bitcoin, So if we take one step back, and talk about why people will use it and why it's interesting for Bitcoiners. Personally, I think that the fact that people bridge their Bitcoins into Ethereum or other chains means that they are seek some capital efficiency. So they seek to make some yield on their Bitcoins. The same is with Celsius, with any centralized exchange, when you can deposit your Bitcoin and allow the centralized exchange to lend it to other actors. That a lot of retail users, they would like to have exposure to make some yield on top of Bitcoin. So I know that there are more hardcore Bitcoiner that they think that the self-custody is the only way, but so we see that other people use such solutions, and Stroom found a way how to provide these Bitcoins to Lightning Network to increase the liquidity and to make some public good. Because if it brings some adoption to Lightning Network because of liquidity, it will be a public good. And that's why I believe in Stroom. So retail depositors will get their yield in Ethereum or whatever chain they choose. But on the other hand, they will like contribute to Lightning Network, because in our venture studio, which is completely Lightning focused, we believe that Lightning Network is the next like global thing. It's meant for payments, and we think that in a few years, Lightning Network will accrue all of the payment volumes from other chains. So I mean, all the transfers that are now made in USDT, on Tron blockchain, on Ethereum blockchain, they will migrate to Lightning Network, in our opinion, because Lightning Network was architectured in that way to be a payment network, and Tron and Ethereum are not. So they are smart contract platforms that are good for things like, Uniswap and some DeFi stuff. But Lightning Network is the most effective payment network that exists for now, in our opinion. So I may be wrong, but I believe so. And this network, in order to be robust and stable, this network needs more liquidity, and this liquidity should be managed in professional way. So it's not only about the amount of liquidity, but it's also about how you manage this liquidity and how you allocate this liquidity to payment channels, so you can achieve a high success rate that is compared to Visa, MasterCard. And personally, I'm very excited about Taro protocol and RGB protocol that will bring other assets to Lightning Network, because I'm not really sure that that many people, like retail people, will treat Bitcoin as a payment method in the near future or at all. I think that they need more like asset they used to count as a currency. Yeah, so it's not like a maxi stance, but that's like a stance from reality. That's my point.
Yeah, but I guess we do need to have lots of payments on the base layer to maintain the security of the chain, as the mining rewards get reduced in half every cycle, every 210,000 blocks. You get this halving, which is a big event specifically because inefficient miners are getting phased out of the network, and you're only going to have the cheapest and the most efficient form of energy that's going to survive. And that's why it's such a big deal, and that's why we also need on-chain payments. I guess we can take up most of these on-chain operations with Lightning channel openings. Maybe that you guys can help with this. But you mentioned something interesting there, Nick, and I have to ask a question about how you're going to manage and optimize these Lightning channels. Because the Lightning Network basically operates on the principle of independent islands that build roads from one to the other. You can have isolated islands that only have one or two roads to connect to make a few payments, or you can have large hubs to which everyone wants to connect. And you can optimize it to get to the largest amount of people, nodes, or islands. You can use any metaphor to describe it. Or you can optimize to make only large payments between large players. So what's the strategy going to be in the case of Stroom?
I will pass the word to Slava, because it's a kind of a technical word, or a technical question. So yes, please, Slava, help me with that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a very good question. So in the end of the day, like all these islands, we call them hubs, they compete between each other for users. Yeah, so users decide to route the payment through these islands, and the user, when he make decision how to build the route, he keeps in mind two major factors. One is the payments fee, so the amount of fee he will be paying for that. And the second is the robustness of the route. So he doesn't want to his payment to fail in the middle of the payment. Yeah, it's not a problem like that. The customer will not lose his money, but he can end up in the stage where his money is stuck for a while. So that's why it's important to choose a robust island, like robust road. Yeah. So our aim here is to win customers. So our target is to provide the best service for the best price, so we can process a lot of volumes. And actually, I believe that the market will decide how the structure of Lightning will evolve. Is it a set of a very big set of small hubs or small islands, or is it a small set of big islands? But actually, my opinion here is that this network will naturally evolve as a power law network, much like internet did, and much like any network that is not governed in centralized way, which is actually evolving in people governed way. Yeah, because so I think it is okay to have few large hubs and some big amount of smaller hubs. And when the network can process your payment, I believe it is not that important what's the structure of network if the success rate of payment is 100%. Yeah, of course we can speak here about the privacy, because privacy would be an issue for large hubs. If there is a small set of large hubs, then the privacy is an issue. But still, I believe that these two models can coexist. And if the user is super privacy focused and he doesn't want anyone to track their payments, then he can just exclude these big hubs from his route, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting because we are still in the early days of the Lightning Network. There's still a lot to figure out about how this is going to be used, and it's up to us, the users, how it's going to evolve, right? Because it seems like too many users are into custodial services, and this leads to big hubs that open lots of channels to accommodate all of that use cases and activity. But at the same time, I think it's easier than ever to run a Lightning node for yourself at home on any computer. Just install Linux on an old laptop and you're going to have your own Lightning node that you can keep online 24/7. So that's really cool. But at the same time, there's also the question of reliability. As even today, when the network has gotten a lot better than it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago, there are still failed payments when you cannot find a proper route or it gets delayed too much and you don't know what's going on and you have to wait. And that kind of defeats the purpose of the Lightning Network. But we have to discuss what's the purpose of the Lightning Network. Is it meant to be super decentralized and allow anyone to run a node? Or is it meant to be just a fast way to make payments and it doesn't matter if big actors end up having the largest liquidity pools?
Like, in short, I stick to the second answer, to the second theory. Because
payment rail, basically.
But at the same time, there's this economic problem. Of course, there's competition between big nodes, but there is this economic problem where at one point you're going to want to make more money and you can end up establishing cartels that raise the fees. And that's going to lead actually to a situation where you pay kind of the same fee on chain and on the Lightning Network. And what you pay for on Lightning is just speed and maybe some reliability, but it's no longer. I had this case with Blue Wallet maybe 2 years ago where I realized that they were charging me the exact same amount of Bitcoin for a transaction, as I would have paid on the main chain.
Oh, yeah, I think it is not good. Yeah, my opinion here that Lightning, yeah, it's by design, it's a payment rail, but what is super important, that is permissionless payment rail. Anyone can open the channel. Permissionless is coming from the Bitcoin. Like you can set up a channel in Bitcoin and no one can stop you from doing that. Yeah, and so that basically I believe that will prevent from cartels from appearing. I mean, those cartels will not be able to appear because, yeah, first of all, there is a price pressure on fee size from the above. Like you cannot charge more than on-chain fees, because if you charge more, then of course people will prefer to use the on-chain. So it's not logical to set up very high fees. And the second thing is that, which is coming from permissionless that I mentioned before, is that, okay, if you decide to build a cartel and you even collude with some big hubs and you decided to raise fees to some very high level, but then always some people will emerge which will run their nodes, and they will like set up their price lower so they can attract more traffic and route more payments. So you basically, those cartels will end up in situations when there is no traffic. So they locked a lot of capital in their channels, but there is no traffic because there are more efficient routes to pay. So it's open market, and it's nice to have that competition. And yeah, for sure, this competition will drive fees down. And I believe that for Lightning Network, fees will always be like like much lower than 0.1%, like lower than 0.1%.
Okay, but do you see a future where you can sustain a business and grow only based on minimal fees? That means a lot of traffic, right?
Yeah. So the beauty of Lightning that your capital, you can turn over your capital like often, maybe 100,000 times, like several hundred times per year. And if you charge 0.1 fee or 0.01 fee, like something like that, so you still can achieve like 3-5% APR and APY. So 3-5% APY is really high for Bitcoin, because you're still exposed to Bitcoin price growth, and you receive additional 3% on top of that, which is like super nice. So 3%, like 3 or 5%, would be very sustainable for people to continue to run these routing hubs or routing islands. Yeah, Nick, do you have any ideas on that?
I think that yes. So it's an open market, and when you don't have any regulation on the open market, it tends to monopoly always. So some big players, they tend to be a monopoly, and I think that those big nodes that were in Lightning Network from the very beginning, they will accrue a lot of traffic, and actually they can raise fees. And I think if some independent players, like some retail players, will try to lower the fee and to get this traffic from them, it's not always about the fee. It's also about the success rate and how reliable you are. And if these big players, so the cartel you mentioned, is a reliable routing partner for those using the Lightning Network, that's okay. I don't think that even if Lightning fees will surpass on-chain fees, I don't think this like you should think of it as a bad fact. So it can be, so it can happen, and there is nothing wrong with that. I think so, because Lightning Network allows you to make like millions of payments, right? And Bitcoin-based blockchain will never allow you this speed and the number of transactions. So you always have the Lightning Network always prevail on the base blockchain, because not because only of fees, but because of scaling, right? So
Yeah,
Bitcoin won't be,
makes sense.
but Bitcoin won't be a payment network. Lightning is.
Even though I still want Bitcoin to be used for payments and to fill the blocks, because that's very much required. It's gonna be interesting to see how this competing market of main chains, side chains, and second layers and third layers is going to end up, because I guess people are gonna always use the base layer for secure transactions and for stuff where they can wait and they don't care to have an immediate confirmation. And they're going to use second layers and side chains for everything else. But let me ask you this, because Lightning Network is this two-way transaction system where if you want to make a transaction with someone or their peers, if you want to send them money, you open a channel with them. And if you want to be able to receive money from them, they need to open a channel with you. And my question for you right now is, Stroom obviously is going to open a lot of channels to enable people to send money through Stroom. But how do you incentivize nodes opening channels with Stroom?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, so you're basically speaking about the problem of attracting inbound liquidity, which is really challenging currently in Lightning Network. Or we can discuss this topic like we can frame it in this way. So there are three types of users that are connected to any routing hub or Stroom hub. So first type is paying customers who actually use their Lightning Network balance to pay for something, for goods. Second type is merchants. That's the customers that mostly receive payments. And the third type is other routing hubs. And yeah, it is important to have balanced channels with other hubs because you want your customer to reach the whole Lightning Network, so they are able to pay everywhere. So with hubs, your strategy is to keep your channels balanced, like 50%. So you like approximately 50% each side. So with merchants, so Stroom is super cool for merchants because merchants, when they receive payments, they need a lot of inbound liquidity. So Stroom provides them with inbound liquidity because it's ours outbound liquidity, and we use it to open channel with merchants. So it's ideal solution for them. And as for customers, that's like independent. That's an independent issue. Yeah, for that we have a separate strategy, which is basically boils down to be a very super reliable, super connected, so they can reach the whole network from our connecting to us. You customers can reach the whole network in the shortest possible using shortest possible passes or routes, and which basically save them some fees. Yeah, and also shortest passes are the more reliable one because the lower amount of intermediaries you have, the higher success rate of that. Yeah, so we have this. So we try to build a reliable service for them so they can connect to us and they know that they always can route their payments and have a high success rate for it at reasonable fee amount. Yes, and for that we actually need to partner with wallets to Yeah, because it's basically the wallet software which decide or which suggests user to open the channel with whom. Yeah, so we here we need to clearly emphasize our unique selling proposition for them, so they can like suggest their customers to open channel with us. Yeah, and as for hubs, this actually an algorithmic problem, like having the balanced channel there. So there are some ways how to balance channels with hubs and how to attract inbound liquidity there. Like you can use tools like loop out, loop in, and yeah, so it's purely algorithmic problem.
Are you concerned that your friends, neighbors, or KYC exchange might know how much Bitcoin you own? It is time to take your financial privacy seriously with Wasabi Wallet, a free and open source wallet solution which makes use of mega coin joins to mix your coins with those of hundreds of other strangers. Thanks to the groundbreaking Wabi-Sabi engine, your coins get divided in smaller, untraceable units, which grant you great anonymity for both hodling and spending. Download Wasabi Wallet 2.0 today at wasabiwallet.io and take advantage of the mega coin joins. It's free and it's open source, so don't trust, verify. CryptoSteel are innovators in Bitcoin cold storage. Back in 2013, they launched the CryptoSteel cassette, which made it easy to back up your seed phrase, passphrase, or any other form of private key on the sturdy metal which resists water, fire, and earthquakes. Today, CryptoSteel offers the Motherload, an all-in-one box which endows you with everything you need to become financially sovereign. Inside of the Motherload, you get a CryptoSteel capsule and a hardware wallet of your choice. All CryptoSteel products are engineered and manufactured in Poland. Order your CryptoSteel metal backup system today on cryptosteel.com and use promo code BTCTKVR at checkout for a 10% discount on your first order. CryptoSteel, secure your wallet seed phrase. Are you a writer, photographer, musician, or video creator who's trying to generate some revenue? Bumby is the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. It's more censorship resistant than any other platform of its kind, with a low and flat one-time fee of 10%. Bumby is as easy to use as any social media mobile application. Sign up today at Bumby.com and subscribe for free to the Bitcoin Takeover account to get access to some time-exclusive content. If you are monetizing your creativity, why not get paid in Bitcoin for it? Bumby.com, the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. Shopping with your Bitcoin on the internet is easy. ShopInBit is Europe's biggest Bitcoin store with over 800,000 products, ranging from Bitcoin books, toothpaste, mobile phones, computers, and watches. This month, I bought a Nintendo Game & Watch console with the classic Legend of Zelda, and it arrived in only 5 working days. And if you can't find what you're looking for, ShopInBit has got you covered. Their concierge service will get you anything and ship it worldwide. Additionally, they also have a travel hacking service that can get you the best deals on all things travel, flights, hotels, and more, for business and for vacations. Bitcoin Takeover listeners get a nice discount, of course. Use code BTCTKVR on your first order for a one-time €5 discount. For more details, go to shopinbit.com. Shopinbit, Europe's biggest Bitcoin store. Alright guys, so in the first part we discussed about what the Stroom Network is and how it's going to work. But I think it's useful to look a bit into the future of the Lightning Network and the way that you see it. And the first question that I have for you as Stroom is whether or not you envision a future where there's going to be a Stroom wallet that Bitcoiners can use to send on-chain Bitcoin to open Lightning channels and make payments with your infrastructure. Something like Breeze or Blixt or Phoenix.
Yeah, we thought about it, but that's not for the nearest future. Yeah, currently we have focused on the building our main project, but yeah, in the future, if we somehow can improve it, and if we decide that our strategy would be to build a wallet, have more user base, why not? Yeah. But as for now, we don't have like 100% sure plans for doing that.
Yeah, to me, it would be super interesting because you increase the liquidity while also engaging more of the Bitcoiners who might be interested in using a non-custodial wallet.
Yeah, but it's really an interesting question how to build it non-custodial way, because originally, like the first, from the technical standpoint, first like design of that solution which came to my mind is like semi-custodial or custodial way. So so we need to think more about that.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe to have it work like Blixt or something, where you open channels under infrastructure. So they are your channels, they are your funds that you control, but at the same time you're using somebody else's infrastructure to route the payments.
Oh, so it's like something similar to LND Hub?
Yeah, or Phoenix, or what's the other one? Breeze.
Breeze. Okay. Yeah. Might be. Yeah. Still, there are some technical details to be worked out, because our hubs, they are kind of special hubs, because we have this module that approve transactions by the federation to prevent the infrastructure owner from stealing the funds from the routing hub. So yeah, we need to work out a way how to unite these two, basically. Yeah. So that's definitely not for the nearest year, maybe in the next year or.
Yeah, I'm gonna break character for a minute here just to observe that I very much like your Eastern European attitude. If I interviewed an American who is doing the same project, he would be like, yeah, we are the greatest. We are gonna do this. Yes, it's definitely on the roadmap. We're gonna do that. Look out for that, of course. And then you're like, yeah, we have to look for a good way to make people not lose their money and ensure proper security. And that, to me, that's how I know that you're honest and real about the project, because you can get very good marketing and you can hype up people. But this is also why I like interviewing developers as opposed to marketers. No offense, Nick. Okay, so let me ask you this. What do you think about privacy on the Lightning Network? And how would you describe the difference between a normal channel and a private channel?
Like a private channel, it's a channel that is not advertised to the overall Lightning Network. So usually it is not. So it is not visible to other hubs and other participants of Lightning Network. So actually cannot be used to route others' payments. So it's a private channel where you can just send payments or maybe receive payments if you tell somebody that there is a channel there to receive payment. So this channel definitely is not good for our routing. But it is good if you just have your Lightning Network node and you use it to pay for something or maybe receive payment for something. So it's kind of like private. I mean, that other hubs will not see the destination, final destination, except the one that you have channel open with. But still, it is visible on chain. Yeah, it is visible on chain, but no one can tell who this channel belongs to. But in my opinion, like if we speak about the broader problem or issue of privacy inside the Lightning Network, so it basically boils down to the centralization part, the centralization question. So if you have only several large hubs that process like 95% of all payments, then these hubs can build all roads, so they can track all payments and they can extract the information about the final destination and about the source of the payment. And we actually know that some companies already doing that. They collect that information. So which is not good for privacy. I'm strong supporter of privacy, and at least like the government shouldn't know what you are paying for, and if this information is stored somewhere, then it is easy for government to go there and see what you are doing. So that's why I believe that always would be in Lightning Network always will be like periphery part of the network that is far away, that is not connected to large hubs. So there is no large hub there. There's like a lot of small hubs, run by ordinary people, and on that small hubs, it's really hard to track that payments. So, and it is good. I mean, not all users always keep care a lot about their privacy, and it's okay. So it's okay to have like two partitions of the network. One is super private and another is like super efficient but less private. Yeah, I believe both can live together.
Now, I know that a lot of users, including myself, are fearful in terms of revealing the location of their node because it might be a home node. So it's not ideal to have your IP address associated with your node. So we look into ways to hide that IP address, and we can do that with Tor, and that usually slows down transactions. I have been told by multiple parties that it's kind of a terrible idea to use Tor, even though it's the most accessible way. And the other one is to use a paid VPN service. And you connect to another server, and that one is going to be your IP address. So it's useful when you want your physical address to be some server farm where the VPN company rents some computers. What's your take on that? Do you believe there is any better technique?
No, I'm not aware of any other technique. And actually in Stroom, we have both like ClearNet IP address and also a Tor address. So first of all, our node is good for like paying from the Tor to the ClearNet, from the Tor network to ClearNet network. It's kind of a bridge between these two networks, like the nodes with only with Tor addresses and then nodes with clear IP addresses. So yeah, I don't know any other way how to tackle that issue.
I spent some time looking at two very interesting privacy projects that are built on top of Lightning, so they're sort of layer free. One of them is called Fedi, and it creates these Chaumian mints where you have transaction privacy. and the other one is called Cashew or whatever. And it's more recent. I think it was launched in October of last year. And it's also a Chaumian and eCash system that allows you to make your Lightning funds private, even if they come from a custodial wallet. Did you have any time to look into these solutions?
No, actually, it's the first time I hear about them. So it would be nice if you can share links after the call.
Yeah, I will. I mean, if I'm helping you improve your service, I think it's a benefit for everyone involved.
Yeah, sure. That's for sure.
So is there anything about the Lightning Network that you don't like and you wish would be better?
User experience, right? I think that's a really big problem for Lightning Network adoption. And when you asked about how we envision the future Lightning Network, let's imagine that there is enough liquidity, it's allocated in the right way, and we basically achieve 100% success rate for all payments. And there is USDT and other assets that people actually use for payments inside the Lightning Network, but still almost nobody uses it comparing to some more traditional ways of making payments. And that would be because of UX, and it's really better now that it was 3 years ago. And even non-custodial wallets like Breeze and like Phonics, right? They are good. They are very convenient for me as a user, but I can't say that I am like a newbie. And maybe for some people that are not familiar with Bitcoin and Lightning and whatever stuff in crypto, it is hard. It is still hard to onboard. And if we envision that Lightning Network will be used for remittance between like Philippines, United States, Latin countries, Africa. There are a lot of people who don't know about Bitcoin, Lightning Network, and crypto. They know nothing about that, but they can use Lightning Network as payment rails for transmitting their fiat currencies, like from Nigeria to United States. They already use Strike, like for remittance, and Lightning Network is only a payment rail. They don't even know about the existence of payment. Like many users don't even know like how it works, right? We need really good we need wallets with really good UX to onboard more users, because if we fail on that track, nothing else matters really. There can be no. So even if we onboard many merchants to accept Lightning payments, and users will not be able to understand how they actually can transact, that's a huge problem. And I think we need to do a lot of work on this track. And actually at Boosty Venture Studio, we are now building Kaminari, a company which is actually a Stripe-like payment processor for merchants in high-risk businesses. And the next thing we are going to build, I guess it will be a wallet, because we already have this Lightning API, and we need to figure out what's the proper interface should be for users. And stay tuned, as marketers say. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's on our roadmap.
Yeah, Nix is right about the terrible UX, and I believe that the most important, the most significant reason for that is the very design of Lightning Network. That like payment channel is not intuitive thing to deal with, and for ordinary customers, like not technically savvy, it is really a nightmare. So I believe this is the reason why people move from non-custodial Lightning wallets to custodian ones, because in custodian Lightning wallets you don't need to deal with channels. So for many people it is really a nightmare. So but here we trade off security and the trust issues, which is bad. I don't like it for Lightning. If so, it would be nice to have that like Galois style wallet or solution, which works in non-custodial way. It would be super, super cool. But as far as I know, people didn't come up with such solution yet. But I personally think that maybe channel factories will help with that, and maybe something like CoinPool. CoinPool is a solution developed by Gleb Naumenko. It's a core Bitcoin developer. Actually, he is our friend. And he is a big proponent of Lightning Network.
Okay, I was actually curious to hear if you have any opinion on this battle between Lightning implementations and which one you prefer for your own use case. If you're going to be using LND by Lightning Labs or Core Lightning by Blockstream or Eclair by Async. And I think there's also Neuta, and there's also an implementation by Electrum.
Yeah, and also there's some implementation in Rust, and I forgot the name.
LDK by Spiral. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so for me as a CTO of like tech company based on Lightning Network, I know that Eclair is super efficient in terms of computational limitations. It basically can process more transactions than others' realizations. But LND is much more wider, has much more wider adoption, and it is developed by actually Lightning Labs, who like was the very first company in Lightning Network space, and the inventors or the authors of Lightning Network white paper, they originally worked at Lightning Labs. So most innovations, I would say, are coming from LND side, and basically Taro protocol, which I believe will be a very huge boost for Lightning Network adoption. So we choose to work with LND, mostly because we had experience with that. I mean, our developers had experience with that a few years ago, and also because it's widely adopted, and because of the innovations, and because the Taproot will be there. Maybe that's going to be the first realization that we'll add Taproot, which is important for us because our design is heavily based on Taproot. Yeah, so we decided to choose LND, but because of the performance, we might switch to Eclair later when we have resources to do that. Yeah, so that's my take on the battle between different realizations.
Yeah, you mentioned something interesting about the founders of the Lightning Network, and none of them, as far as I know, is still involved in developing. I mean, the writers of the Lightning Network white paper, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Joseph Poon in particular, he has worked on something similar, and he mentioned that it would be a better version of Lightning. It was called Raiden, and it was built on Ethereum. Can you explain why that one didn't turn out to be better and it failed and nobody uses it anymore?
That's interesting because I from my information that I have, he actually worked at Go. Okay, I forgot the name. It was not the Raiden, but he was advisor there. So he did not. Okay, but I don't know. I spoke to him last time, like 4 years ago or something like that. So I don't know exactly where he moved. But as for Raiden, I don't know. It's a good question. Yeah, it made a lot of noise 3 years ago when it was like introduced. And I don't know why it did not success. Maybe because Ethereum is not designed to be a payment rail. I mean, the mean for payments. It's purely smart contract platform. So you don't need to have there some because when you don't need to have some scalable, horizontally scalable payment rail there, because
Oh, it was Plasma. Sorry, I said Raiden, but it was actually Plasma.
Oh, Plasma, yeah. So Plasma is a way to scale Ethereum. So there are like two concepts, two directions how to scale Ethereum. So Plasma, one of them, it is something like ZK rollup, but it's more like Lightning Network style thing where you don't have like anchoring feature, but you have this like smart contracts that process redemptions. Like you can exit from this Plasma chain or subchain to original Ethereum with some like revocation transactions. Like, I mean, not revocation, but like so it's like Lightning style. So you have basically lots of islands that are multi-party channels, and you kind of bounded there. So, and the second way to scale Ethereum, it was a sharding. So Plasma is like off-chain solution. Sharding is like when you split your chain into several shards, and then you allow the communication between those shards. And Ethereum community decided to choose second path to scale Ethereum. So they decided to move forward with sharding. So Plasma didn't receive much support from the Ethereum ecosystem and Ethereum companies and Ethereum developers. So that's my opinion why it was not successful. Because for Lightning, it is a different story. For Lightning, everybody from the Bitcoin ecosystem believes that the Lightning is a right way to scale Bitcoin, because they don't want to build any shards, they don't want to increase block size, they want to have it like in a soft fork style development where you kind of like inclusive to everyone and everyone can. So they decided that Lightning is a right way. So Lightning received a huge support from the Bitcoin core developers. So that's why Lightning is successful. One of the reasons. And for Plasma, they did not receive that. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I also noticed that there were proposals in Bitcoin before Lightning. And to some extent, they all had their trade-offs, right? But when they read the white paper for Lightning Network, they decided, okay, this is the best implementation. And even though the proposal did not come from a core developer or someone who was very deep into Bitcoin, and those people actually made some proposals, it was this one that won the war, to call it so, the scaling proposal war. And to me, it's interesting that there is this selfless dimension to building protocols and layers, where it's the best design that wins, not the one with the most amount of advocacy or the most money behind it and stuff like that. Now that I think about it, there was a lot more money behind the Liquid sidechain in Bitcoin, and that one did not get much traction. I think there are lots of companies that are Federation members, but if you look at their blockchain, they barely have any transactions at all, while Lightning is unexpectedly successful, even though the people who understood Lightning in the early days are the ones that right now are some of the biggest nodes that operate it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, and I really like it that the best design wins always, because it makes everything more efficient.
Yeah, so what are rollups? Because we got to this point and that's not a super discussed topic in Bitcoin. Because I read the proposal that was leveraging ordinal inscriptions to create rollups on top of Bitcoin. So what's that? How does it work?
I'm not a big expert in that topic, but that's basically a technique that leverages zero knowledge proofs. That's a smart way to prove something to somebody without storing that information on chain. So you basically can keep on chain only one single hash or one single line that stores the Merkle root tree of all states of state of the something. Like, for example, that could be like records about your balances of users, really huge database, and you don't need to have the database on one chain. You can leverage that hash to prove some transaction happened to somebody. Yeah, and based on this technique, lots of scaling proposals were like proposed. Basically, the idea comes down to that, like, lots of information can be removed from on-chain and stored somewhere. It even can be not a blockchain at all. It can be only like some, I don't know, GitHub repo, for example. Yeah, and then if there's some transaction happening, you just update that hash. Yeah, which is nice. I guess it's also very innovative. It's cool, and it's really shame for me that I didn't dig deep into that technology yet, but I plan to.
I've heard this joke, which might turn out to be technically possible, from Andrew Polstra from Blockstream, who said at one point that if they want to make initial block download faster in Bitcoin when you synchronize your node, they can roll up the entire history of the Bitcoin blockchain in one ZK rollup and basically just ask the question, are the transactions there valid and correct? Yes, then you download that one piece of information and you have no reason to store everything anymore.
Yeah, it sounds very reasonable. Yeah.
But so it does help with scaling.
No, I think that Bitcoin must stay as it is, like without any changes. So that means that always should be a full nodes that keep the whole records of all transactions that have happened. Yeah, but for someone, it's like SPV wallet, very similar thing. So if you don't want to download the entire chain, you're just a customer, and then this approach is reasonable. Yeah.
So let's get back to Stroom because we got sidetracked a bit. I guess we are getting close to the final part of the interview. So how would you describe it to someone who is not technical and has been listening to this passively, trying to figure out what this is about?
It's a really hard question. Yeah, I always, when trying to explain to my friends who are not in crypto what I'm doing, it's like, no, I can't do this. Yeah, but I would say, yeah, when we describe, for example, the Stroom to potential investors who are not deep into Lightning, we say that the Stroom is liquid staking derivative for Bitcoin Lightning Network. But if the people not tech savvy at all, so we say, okay, so we build in some protocols that helps Bitcoin scale, and we are achieving that by allowing some portion of users who are using their Bitcoins in other chains to actually still use it in other chains as they want, but also at the same time simultaneously support scaling of Lightning by using their liquidity in Lightning. And then I said that Lightning is just scaling solution for Bitcoin.
Okay, Nick, do you also have your own explanation?
If we take an non-tech savvy people, so like my grandma, I would say that Stroom is like if you want to make a payment to another person into Lightning Network, which is a payment network, Stroom is a, like, I don't like the word intermediary, but it's like a professional intermediary that that make this payment possible in the most efficient way, and it ensures that this payment will be made like with 100 success rate and instantly. That's how I would explain it to like 5-year-old kid or to my grandma. But if we are talking about some more sophisticated explanations, that's right. Slava already told you that it's the liquid staking derivative for Lightning Network.
Something else that sorry, I interrupted.
It's Lightning service provider actually. If we are talking about in Lightning terms, Stroom is Lightning service provider in Lightning Network. But it raised capital from ordinary users. Something like that.
Something that you told me, Nick, and part of the conversation that we had before this interview was that you guys are going to be present at the hackathon before BTC Prague. Is that correct?
I will be in Prague on the Dev Day before BTC Prague, right? We are Boosty Venture Studio is actually a sponsor for a Lightning Network track on this Dev Day. And the day after, there will be pitch contest for Bitcoin startups. And I will be on the jury board. So I urge all Bitcoin projects to apply, and we'll be happy to see them and talk about Bitcoin stuff, right?
Right, so Stroom does not have a direct presence.
Yeah. That's correct.
I made this association, which I guess was wrong.
Yeah, we actually cannot leave Ukraine, so that's the reason why we cannot go to BTC Prague. I mean, personally,
I will be present. I will represent Stroom as well at the event.
Anyway, I look forward to your launches. I hope that you guys are gonna be safe and sound and, physically capable to pull off this project, which is pretty ambitious, is something that I haven't heard about prior to talking with you guys. So it's useful for me to learn how other liquidity can come into the Lightning Network. How can listeners of this podcast follow you guys personally and follow your project, Stroom and Boosty?
You can find us on Twitter, where all the Bitcoiners are. So it's Nick Schteringard. You can find me on Twitter, and Boosty Studio, and Stroom Network. Yeah, it's easy.
What
about you, Slava? Do you have a social media presence?
But I'm not very popular there.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. So you can find. You can subscribe to Stroom Network Twitter or Stroom Network Telegram group. And actually, there are some discussions happening in Telegram group. So if you have any questions about the project, then you can post it there. Yeah.
Okay, that's really nice. So really, thank you guys for doing this interview. I know that it took longer than you would have liked, and you're late for another call. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your input. And I wish you best of luck with Stroom, and I hope you're going to succeed with this, because I haven't heard of anything like it before.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you a lot. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, it was a really cool discussion. I like it.
Are you concerned that your friends, neighbors, or KYC exchange might know how much Bitcoin you own? It is time to take your financial privacy seriously with Wasabi Wallet, a free and open source wallet solution which makes use of mega coin joins to mix your coins with those of hundreds of other strangers. Thanks to the groundbreaking Wabi-Sabi engine, your coins get divided in smaller, untraceable units, which grant you great anonymity for both hodling and spending. Download Wasabi Wallet 2.0 today at wasabiwallet.io and take advantage of the mega coin joins. It's free and it's open source. so don't trust, verify. CryptoSteel are innovators in Bitcoin cold storage. Back in 2013, they launched the CryptoSteel cassette, which made it easy to back up your seed phrase, passphrase, or any other form of private key on the sturdy metal which resists water, fire, and earthquakes. Today, CryptoSteel offers the Motherload, an all-in-one box which endows you with everything you need to become financially sovereign. Inside of the Motherload, you get a CryptoSteel capsule and a hardware wallet of your choice. All CryptoSteel products are engineered and manufactured in Poland. Order your CryptoSteel metal backup system today on cryptosteel.com and use promo code BTCTKVR at checkout for a 10% discount on your first order. CryptoSteel, secure your wallet seed phrase. Are you a writer, photographer, musician, or video creator who's trying to generate some revenue? Bumby is the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. It's more censorship resistant than any other platform of its kind, with a low and flat one-time fee of 10%. Bumby is as easy to use as any social media mobile application. Sign up today at Bumby.com and subscribe for free to the Bitcoin Takeover account to get access to some time-exclusive content. If you are monetizing your creativity, why not get paid in Bitcoin for it? Bumby.com, the Bitcoin way to monetize your content. Shopping with your Bitcoin on the internet is easy. ShopInBit is Europe's biggest Bitcoin store with over 800,000 products, ranging from Bitcoin books, toothpaste, mobile phones, computers, and watches. This month, I bought a Nintendo Game & Watch console with the classic Legend of Zelda, and it arrived in only 5 working days. And if you can't find what you're looking for, ShopInBit has got you covered. Their concierge service will get you anything and ship it worldwide. Additionally, they also have a travel hacking service that can get you the best deals on all things travel, flights, hotels, and more, for business and for vacations. Bitcoin Takeover listeners get a nice discount, of course. Use code BTCTKVR on your first order for a one-time €5 discount. For more details, go to shopinbit.com. ShopInBit, Europe's biggest Bitcoin store.